Hello everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of the Lone Coat Mafia podcast. I am, as always, the Reverend Godfather, the main host and frontman for the show. And yes, this is another show, solo show, where I am ranting and raving about a couple of things. And the little whirring you hear in the background is a fan I have on, because the place that I live in, the air conditioner is not the best. And I refuse to sweat like a pig at a luau, so there's that. I do apologize about that. But first things first, before I continue on with all the geeky stuff that might be in this episode, I would like to thank every single one of you who saw on either Facebook, Instagram, or wherever I put it, to go to Twitter and vote for us in the Podden Echo, or I should say the Pod Echo, or the Podden Family polls that were the past 2 weeks. These were milestones for the show, and all of you who did go to Twitter and vote, thank you so much. Even though we came in, I think, maybe second or third on the Podden Echo poll, and last place on the Podden Family poll. We did not win. I would have loved to win. It would have been a major victory for the show. It would have meant so much for the show as well. But also, this week marks our second anniversary of our soft launch for the show. That's right. If you go back roughly to all those episodes, or the 100 and plus episodes that we have on our Podbean website, you'll see shows that hear shows that, the audio is bad, literally bad. But we had great content, and me struggling with a few interviews that started out, and a few ideas I had for the show that didn't fully come to fruition in later months and 2 years. Yes, there were a couple of things that I would have loved to be at this point and didn't hit yet, but that's beside the point. To get on with the show, E3 this past week. A lot of good news. I didn't really keep up with the PlayStation side of things and the Nintendo side of things, but I did hear that Skyrim was going to be on the Nintendo Switch, and the reaction by some people was kind of yay. As well as the fact that not so much the game-wise coming out for PS4 Sony, but a lot of things were coming out for Nintendo Switch, like Minecraft, and a lot of new Pokemon games, which is also, I wouldn't say new, but they seem to be a standard. It's like, a new console is launched for Nintendo, what do we expect? Pokemon games and Mario. But yes, there was some controversy over the Mario game in reference to some sort of appropriation of Mexicans or the Spanish culture, which it seemed, I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to go into it. I'm not going to step on the ground here, but to go into a little bit of the Xbox side of things, because that's the one I pay attention to the most, because I own an Xbox One. I am a fan of the Xbox, but not a fanboy. I will not defend the system, because there's a lot of stuff that has gone wrong with the system, or I do not like with the system, than what I do like. And what Microsoft came out with and debuted for the system was their Xbox One X. And with it is going to be completely 4K all around. You might have heard me say that in the video. It's 4K no matter what, and it's going to show it's completely backwards compatibility, which means they're going to introduce original Xbox games for the system. That's going to be throughout the whole Xbox One family, from the original Xbox One, the Scorpio, and the Xbox One X, which is nice. But as from what I've been hearing and who you listen to, not many people. There are people interested in backwards compatibility in regards to the Xbox One and overall, but not many people are actually playing the backwards compatibility stuff. So it's that mixed bag. But the downer with the 4K stuff is the aspect of not everybody has a 4K TV yet, and that's a problem. Not to mention the system for the Xbox One X system is going to be like $400, $500, and not many people have that kind of cash sitting around. And when you're a person like myself who doesn't have that cash and has to wait for that price point to come down, like way down, or see it at a pawn shop or a retro gaming store for cheap, then we'll get it. I might wait a year or so before I pick it up. That way they have a chance to iron out all the technical difficulties that might be with it. Like the Red Ring of Death that the Xbox 360 once had. If anything, I seriously doubt it. But the only two games that seem to pique my interest in the whole Xbox type of showcase was Crackdown 4? No, 3. It was Crackdown 3 and Cuphead. That was the only two games that piqued my interest. I think the reason why Crackdown piqued my interest is because I think it's Terry Crews, I want to say, did the advertising for it, and he's always a very fun character to watch. Also, kind of out of E3, came straight out of nowhere, was Atari. They wanted to come back and do a console, and this is something I've been kind of hearing over the past week. And I don't know why. It's not at one of these like the NES Classic type of ordeals where they're going to bring back the console. It's going to have a bunch of old games out, or it's not. Meaning it's not a flashback console. It's going to be a brand new console that's going to be equivalent to power-wise the Xbox One, the PS4, and the Nintendo Switch. Why? It's not going to... I'm going to reinstate my opinion that in reference to a lot of these consoles that want to show up, they don't have... They might have the name and the recognition right now as being, hey, look at us, we're Atari, we're making a comeback, and we're going to have brand new games. Why? When you have already 4 if you want to count PC brands, like Sony, I won't say like Sony, like Compact or whatever gaming PC that you use, plus consoles already in a pre-established market. It's going to be a tough uphill battle. Atari's already going to be in dead last because no one really... Let me put it like this. I know I'm kind of rambling over it. With Nintendo, you have Mario and Pokemon series. With something like PS4 and Sony, you have Uncharted, God of War, and a whole mess of others. With Xbox/Microsoft, you have Halo, Crackdown, Gears of War. Plus, you have the cross-platform, I won't say cross-platform games, like Grand Theft Auto, Borderlands, Destiny, so forth. Those type of games go on and on. They're already there. And here is Nintendo right now with no exclusives, nothing. They are in the planning phase. So therefore, why? Why are they doing this now after being years and years on the mobile market and just releasing maybe collection games and the flashback stuff? So it's pointless. We don't want to dwell on it. It's not going to be a good time. It's going to be a tough road for them if they do it. Also, we heard recently that games like Rocket League and Minecraft are going to be completely cross-platform. We're talking PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, But I read recently that Sony doesn't want to shake hands with, for whatever reason, Microsoft. And everybody is going... The reason why they gave is that Microsoft is not really a quote-unquote secure platform. This is... I want to... The Xbox fanboy in me wants to say, this is coming from a company that many, many years ago keeps getting hacked and taken down for not just days at a time, 24, 36 hours, but weeks, months at a time. And they call themselves not so secure. But it was just a lame excuse. Even people from who created Minecraft and Rocket League were going, what the fuck? You know, can you give us something a little bit more secure? Or a better answer than, oh, the networks are not that secure, we're, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And yet, I think Rocket League said, you're giving this, and that's not so many words, they were saying, you're giving this a bullshit response, yet you are doing cross-play, platform play with PC owners, but you don't want to do it with other consoles. Assholes. But to continue on from there, let's talk a little bit about conventions. It is the summertime right now, and the con circuit is, while E3 is somewhat of a con, from what I heard, I think one year tickets to go see E3 as a ticket holder is several $1,000s. If anybody can confirm this, please let me know. But it's the summertime. You have a lot of major shows come to fruition, more so in the summer months, late spring, summer months to the early fall, more than the winter, late winter, or early winter months, or say late fall months to late winter months. Now, mind you, you have conventions like MegaCon that air in March, or come to be in like March, April. I'm not knocking MegaCon. They had a great guest list this year. But that's one particular con. But during the summer, you have usually E3, you have San Diego, you have AwesomeCon, which as of this recording just ended today, Sunday the 17th, I think today is. Yeah, no, 19th. Sorry about that. It's officially Monday right now. You have Otakon later this summer. I think it's July or August. I think it's August that Otakon is coming to DC instead of being in Baltimore. And speaking of Baltimore, you have Baltimore Comic-Con in September. Not to mention you have Matt Burns' Retro Pop Culture Con, the reboot, this September, I think a week prior. So, either way, that's that. Normally, like last year, when I went to AwesomeCon and came back, that Sunday night, if not that Monday, word got out that they had major issues with Peter Capaldi and the other Doctor Who guest that they had there. That was just for Sunday. They oversold tickets. I didn't hear any drama like that this year yet. I've been trying to ask a few people who have been there this year if they heard any rumblings or, misgivings about AwesomeCon like what happened last year. And none of that seemed to happen. But I'll wait a few days before anything like that comes out to hear from fans. Normally the promoter from AwesomeCon puts something on Facebook to say, hey, how do we do this year? And I'll see about all the negative rumblings and the positives about it, what they did right, what they did wrong. And speaking about some of the smaller shows, briefly, and before I do, yes, I'll try to get a press pass for Otakon this year and try to go at least on Friday. Their qualifications for a media person like ourselves is, that we have to be established for 2 years, and we had to do conventions before, or I should say cover conventions before, and that's what we have done before. We've actually been to conventions, done interviews. Thank you, Matt Burns. So we'll try to get to Otakon to see what happens with that under a media pass, even if it is for the possibility of one day. So, and to continue on now for some of the smaller shows, or at least one smaller show. You might have heard on the tail end of our Nick Hunt interview a little bit of a review of the Library Comic-Con that happened on June 3rd. The one thing I didn't, this is just a follow-up because I did email Gretchen in reference to who is the library director about it. I'll get into that in a moment. The one story I forgot to mention about the whole, or the day, is that they had the costume contest outside, and they had this one little boy. He had to be no more than 5 years old. It was a awe moment and a funny moment at the same damn time. It was an awe moment because he was dressed up as Chris Pratt's character from Jurassic World. And one of the rules from the costume contest from library is that you had to walk to the spot in front of the judges, either say the catchphrase from that character or do something briefly that that character is known for or has done in a particular movie or show. So he comes in with this little blow-up dinosaur that's about as big as him. I'm talking about something that's maybe no more than 3 feet tall. And due to the slight breeze that was there, and this thing's innate ability not to be perfectly balanced, kept falling down. Eventually, after maybe about a minute or two, he finally got this thing balanced and set up. There was no wind, and he just cracked that pose and went, "It's okay. Calm down. You'll be alright. Don't move. It's okay." And it was so adorable because that's pretty much what happens in the movie if you haven't seen it. And where the funny, because that once he did that, that was the immediate. The crowd went, "Aw, that's cute. That's adorable." I mean, it was perfect. And all of a sudden, he just picks up this inflatable doll dinosaur, tosses over his shoulder, and just walks off with it. And it went from adorable to completely hysterical in a cute, positive way, because it kind of also fits with Chris Pratt's character from the movie that he was in charge of these raptors. There was no word whether or not he won, but I wish they posted photos of him at this, because I would have shared it on Instagram for all of you to see, because it was just plain hysterical and funny and cute, all mixed in, because he had been no more than 5 years old, folks. About a week later, one of the downsides of it, and it's what I included in my letter to the library director, was the fact that a lot of people on my personal Facebook page, as well as I think one or two on the show's Facebook page, said we did not realize it was today, meaning June 3rd. So I included that in my letter to the library director, saying thank you for allowing us to be there, even though we paid for the table, but you still got to be polite. And the fact that the only concerns that I had in reference to the show was two. One was that there was very few people there, even though it was a decent event, that they could have advertised it a little bit better, and best way they could have done it, even though I have qualms with doing it, because there's mixed results in doing it, is at least they could have scrounged up $25 to do a custom boosted post for the event, so people would have been reminded that it was June the 3rd, even though this was the same weekend that Wonder Woman came out. So the next problem I had was the fact that when I was inside for the event, one of the guests, not people attending it, but the invited folk, I think it was one of their celebrity people or celebrity vendors that they had inside, signing autographs and selling their wares inside. When I was there inside, like I said, inside getting some water, he casually mentioned to her, in regards to the event being kind of hokey and gimmicky. So I mentioned to her that I overheard this, and that her response, in essence, was, "You're right." I informed her that this was, in essence, a wrong response from her, yet a more polite response would have been, even though you are right about that this event can be considered gimmicky and hokey, there are a lot of people who cannot, or for whatever reason, or will not go to a larger event such as an Awesome Con or San Diego or Wizard World, but they are able to come to an event like this. So gimmicky as they are, they do provide some sort of event service for those who are unable to go to a larger venue. And that way she was at least be able to agree with him that it is kind of gimmicky, but counteract his argument. So that's that. She did say reply back to us, thanking me and the show for feedback and the thank you letter. Now we got a bunch of great people coming to Matt's event this upcoming September, including the recently announced Peter Zimmerman from The Walking Dead, plus as well actor and special effects master Kent Wagner. He appeared on Walking Dead and Vampire Diaries, plus Sleepy Hollow. Also, he played one of the lead Ravengers in the current movie Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Plus a whole mess more, including, I can't make out anybody out of that, but he has loads of people for that show, so check him out. It's going to be in Hagerstown, September 9th and 10th in Hagerstown, so be happy there. We're going to be happy about it and happy to see what the program panels are going to be. I think he's going to have a special effects panel. Don't quote me on it, because all the card, since it's early on in the kind of convention scene, it's still like 3 months away. It's, card is subject to change, so don't quote me on the guests, even though these have been officially announced. Things do happen and things do change. To move on from there until I could figure out what exactly else we could talk about cons, I might do it after the movie segment, which is what I'm going to talk about right now. That's right, movies. You heard me talk about in our YouTube segment. First off, since I have that on my mind, our YouTube channel is kind of up and running. We don't have enough followers to make it so it says youtube.com/Longcoat Mafia Podcast. So when you're on YouTube, just look up the show, it'll come up. Just do a search for Longcoat Mafia Podcast, and yes, it'll come up. But you heard, at least on Facebook, not so much Facebook, YouTube, you heard us talk about the Wonder Woman movie. It was done very well. It was very good. And much to my surprise, it was such. It was very good. I will see it again. If not in the theaters, on DVD or somewhere like that. Meaning through some legal venues like Vudu or Amazon Movies. But I'll give it a very hard 8. Because it was so good, it was done so well. They kind of followed canon in a way. They kind of made her, I won't say made her, but they gave the perspective of her coming to the world of man for the first time, which is, in essence, a origin story in a way, but not really an origin story. They used also as well the classic Wonder Woman origin story instead of the convoluted origin stories prior. I say that because for those who are listening, her origin story has been kind of rebooted and retold different ways over the past 50 some odd years, or whenever, maybe 60 years she's been around. Initially, she was, according to comics, and at least the movie, I'll pair that up, she was molded from clay on the island of the Amazons. I'm not going to pronounce it here. I think it's Themyscira. And Zeus pretty much zapped life into her, and that's how she was, in essence, created. And she learned to train, and so forth and so on there, on the island, and various means she either left or she was exiled to the world of man. Again, it's changed over the years. She left to be either an ambassador or she was exiled due to various reasons, and or both. They retconned it. She was, again, either created from clay, a goddess herself, or made into a goddess at some point, and powers revoked and brought back and rebooted and redone and back and forth. The only two constants in regards to their origin stories have been Superman and Batman in the DC universe, and maybe even the Flash. But I'm not knocking Wonder Woman. She's a great character. She is a very strong feminine character. It is nice to see that she is doing, or at least the movie is doing way better than expected. I think this was the first time in maybe 2 or 3 weeks that the movie has not done well. What I mean was, or I should say, over the past 2 weeks since its premiere on June 3rd. Okay, Wonder Woman, this was the first time Wonder Woman has come in second, and it's been out for about 3 weeks, and it has made, over those 3 weeks, $274 million, at least domestically, and with a budget of about $149. Now, again, folks, I am saying, when I say that, is that is not a current, even though it's an accurate number, it's not a totally bottom line number, because once again, that's prior to the theaters themselves taking a cut, and that is prior to the advertisers' budget that is also tacked on to that amount. Meaning, as always, like, Wonder Woman could have spent $149 million in making the movie, but there might be another $100 to $200 million spent on advertising a movie. So, when they say a movie has made $274 million, even though it's a great number, it's a number that the studios want to see, and it still has a long way to go, meaning that it's probably made its money back already, and overseas it's made its money back. Overall, it made the money back and probably a good chunk of its advertising costs. So, that is very good to see. I do applaud Wonder Woman for being the first, I won't say the first feminine hero out there, or feminine badass out there, in a lead role. There has certainly been many strong female characters and strong female superhero characters that had their own starring role in the past. But I'll say this, I applaud Wonder Woman being the first female superhero and being the first feminine superhero movie to make it this high in the budget this soon. Because some of the previous feminine superheroes that have been done in the past, like Elektra and Supergirl from the 1980s, they did not do very well. Elektra was either late 90s or early 2000s, and Supergirl, starring Helen Slater, was early to mid 80s. So none of these movies did overall that well, but here is Wonder Woman kicking ass, taking names, and doing her superhero thing, which is a great thing. It's showing a lot of promise. Here's hoping that it goes the distance, and it proves a lot of fanboys and fangirls wrong. Just that, what would have, to also continue on about this, one of the things that might have seemed like a little bit of controversy And it could prove to a little bit of fan interaction from you guys as well, because I do want to hear about it from you guys and gals who might be listening to this show. And that is, it came off a little, like I said, it came off like it was going to be a little bit of a controversy. It turned out it didn't. It's just that Katie Couric went up to Twitter and asked Gal Gadot and Chris Hemsworth who would win in a fight, Wonder Woman or Thor. And I think Gal Gadot mentioned that, yeah, Wonder Woman would win in a fight, so they kind of just, I'm not knocking Gal Gadot, for mentioning Wonder Woman. It is her character. She is, spearheading this thing 100%. And so all eyes kind of focused in on Chris Hemsworth and him portraying Thor. And from what people have said, and his response was on Twitter was, you know what, I think Wonder Woman would kick Thor's ass. And I think he said that with a great smile and great deal with respect to Wonder Woman herself and the movie. I have no disrespect for Chris Hemsworth in siding with Gal Gadot and the Wonder Woman movie. And as a matter of fact, as I stated when I heard about the article and in essence, the discussion about it between Gal Gadot and Chris Hemsworth, I'm going to have to agree, movie-wise, Wonder Woman in the movie is a more powerful and more, again, I'm going to put spoilers right here, spoilers, if you haven't seen it already, for Wonder Woman. She is classified in the movie, even though she was quote-unquote created from clay, she has been told that she herself is a goddess and brought up to that level as a goddess. So she has that power set of a god or a goddess. While Thor, movie-wise, might not have that full power set of a god. And in the movie Marvel Cinematic Universe, he is, even though he is classified as a god in the comics or thought of as a god here on ancient Earth, movie-wise, he's just an alien. But he's not a god or created from gods like he is in the comic universe. So, that being said, movie-wise, yes, I'm going to have to say Wonder Woman would probably kick Thor's ass in the straight-up fight. Because Thor is a kind of a over-cocky type of person. Even though he would probably fight one-on-one with Wonder Woman if it was just a kind of a expedition match just to see who would win. I'm just saying that so I want to try to equal. But in the comic universe, I'm willing to say it'll be a closer fight and a harder to say who would actually win. Now, for a lot of you out there who are new to the comics universe and might ask, would Wonder Woman be able to pick up Thor's hammer? Yes. In the comic, back in the 90s, there was a crossover event between the Marvel Universe and the DC Universe, in which, at one point, Thor lost his hammer, and where it landed was near Wonder Woman and her fight, and she picked it up and for a brief instant had the powers of Thor. But during that time, I don't think she was at the goddess power set. She was still at the maybe a deity type of power set, meaning the way Hercules is kind of a deity, or in essence that half-breed type between a human and a god, or depending on your pronunciation of Hercules, it could be Heracles, but that's semantics. So, it's good. If it's still playing in the theater you're at, I do recommend seeing it there. Let's see, what else? John Wick 2, I did manage to pick that up. It has been released for purchase and rent on major streaming sites, as well as you're able to rent it through, I think, Redbox, or rent it through, again, Vudu and the usual streaming sites. This is a very good movie. It is, I want to say it's almost as strong as the first one. It just, I think it takes place maybe about 3 or 4 months after the first movie, and it just continues straight up action, straight up. Keanu Reeves is John Wick. I don't know. What can I say about this? He's proving himself to be a badass character in this role. He found his role with this. I mean, he's taken a step back. He's not doing his surfer woe type roles that he's best known for. He's actually learned a thing or two, and this is a very strong character for him. I can't wait to see if there is a third John Wick or John Wick 3. I have heard rumors of a John Wick television series coming out in the near future, but it's going to center not so much on John Wick himself, but the kind of the hotel, the concierge hotel that he resides in for a little while, or goes to rest up in, I think, New York City and in Rome. One of those type of concierge hotels that he uses, and the story is pretty much based on what happens in those hotels. Now, I don't want to really go into what happens in John Wick 2 without actually spoiling it for everyone, but the premise is that it does go into a little bit of, or hints at, how he was able to do his impossible task in the first movie, and that he did have help in that particular instance, and what he has to do in this movie, which is a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of event or job that he has to complete. So, again, I can't wait or hear if there's going to be a 3. This is getting a strong 8.5, a real strong 8.5 out of 10 from me. Now, next up, today, as of this recording, I should say, I saw 2 movies as of this recording. One was Cars 3, which just came out in theaters this past week. It is a very good movie. It's a kids movie, of course. It's a Pixar movie. It had a nice little cute little short called Joe at the beginning of it, and I'm not going to spoil it. The only person who was not in it, or they might have used previous clips so he can be in it without being in it, and that is the person who played Doc Hudson, who was played by the late Paul Newman, who died passed away a few years ago, 10 years ago. So they just probably used old clips to fill in for that. But the cool thing was they brought in a whole mess of other older cars similar to Doc Hudson, and what a lot of people do not realize is that Doc Hudson, at least the car, was based on an actual car that was used in the early days of, I won't say NASCAR, but racing, or car racing of the day. And the cars that they use in this one to help mentor not Buzz, but Lightning McQueen, which is Owen Wilson's character. So the ones that they brought in to kind of mentor Owen's character, Lightning McQueen's character, were actually cars used way back in the day, and they kind of led into the history of car racing and why it became, in essence, a sport we know as NASCAR today. And a lot of the kind of exposition in reference to those cars, meaning one is played by a female, or at least voiced by a female actress, and I think the other person might be a African American actor, and they represent, the way in reference to
why they weren't a quote-unquote official. It was because they weren't allowed in the time, but they still raced. So it's historically, even though it's a fictional movie, it's still kind of historically accurate too. So, which is a fun thing to see for the movie. There were a lot of inside gags. For those who follow Pixar, one of the things that a lot of Pixar buffs know about is the little bit of an Easter egg, the A113 Easter egg. That's there. So, and this is also Cars 3 brings in the aspect of a full circle or circle where I'm not. If I mention it too much, I'll spoil the movie. I will say go see it. To me, it gets a 7 out of 10 because to me it's mostly a kids movie. That's why. It's not going to get anything higher than that. It might get a 7.5, if at most. But because at times it seems cheesy and stupid, and it just seems I could go into some of the wrongs, but it's just nitpicky, and it'll make me contradict a lot of things I go up against in the past. But either way, I'm going to leave it be. It's 7.5, 7 to 7.5, very strongly. It was very good, very fun. There was a lot of laughs in it. Next up, at a recommendation from my co-host, Big Candy, I went to see Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Well, he didn't direct it, but he starred in it. Due to the fact that he, in one of his live streams on his personal account, he said it was, despite the fact of a lot of people tossing hate and shade towards the movie, it was pretty much okay, and I'm going to have to agree with him on that. It was okay. It wasn't half bad. It was a summer, compared to last year's summer blockbusters that were trying to come out, meaning you had, I think, Independence Day 2 come out last year, and a lot of these movies that were sequels and other things that were extremely hyped up, but just fell flat. This didn't feel like it was falling flat. They did a very good job. There were nods to the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie, and there were other nods to other in-universe things. So this movie is going to get a strong 6.5 out of 10 from me. It's a hair above Rental because it doesn't come off Rental. It's a summer action movie that you can, in essence, unplug your brain for a little while and just ignore a lot of probably the plot holes in it. Whereas, like last year with Independence Day 2, even though you could have unplugged your brain, you would have gone, "Oh, come on, please, really? Jeez, what the hell?" But this was not anything like that. This was just a action movie. It had a solid story to it. Just that some of the minor stuff was it had a lot, like Wonder Woman and a lot of other stuff. It had tropes. It had the standard tropes in it. I'm not going to say what they were. It just had a lot of tropes. In a good way, because I'm a movie buff. I love movies, and I'm able to see a lot of these tropes. And just stuff that, what I mean by tropes is just that seemingly every movie tends to have. Like with Wonder Woman and with The Mummy, like the standard trope is you have this overpowered character or this overpowered person, either on the side of good or the side of evil, that gets shot or is able to move something that weighs several thousand pounds with ease, and you have a bunch of people just going all out trying to kill this person. And they don't just stop and just say, "You know what? We tried everything we've had tossing at this person. Nothing's worked." And here, at least in the case of Wonder Woman, here this chick just picked up a 4-ton vehicle and tossed it 50 feet like it was nothing, and she could probably toss it another 120 without blinking an eye. You know what? I'm going home. Screw the war. Screw this. Screw her. I'm going home. I'm not fighting this chick. Joey, did you see what she did with that vehicle? She picked it up and tossed it. Why are we shooting at this chick? She's blocked every shot we tossed at her so far. So, that, in essence, that's the trope. Another trope is usually when you see a whole mess of characters just ignore weapons on the ground. They're just going to go after with just the guns they got in their hands. But still, just standard tropes. The Mummy, third week out. The Mummy, second week out, did $56 million total with a $125 million budget, and it's had a 56% change. From what I've been hearing, anything past 50% second week is not a good thing, so I doubt it'll get a sequel. Because of the negative press, I won't say negative press, the negative reviews it's been getting, and a lot of the hate and maybe some of the shade that's been going against it, I do recommend at least going to see it at least once in the theaters. If you want to wait until it comes to $1 theater, I'll say wait till then too. But what I've been hearing with it, it's been getting a lot of hate. And it's getting a lot of flack from Brandon Fraser. I haven't heard too much about that. But what I've been hearing is that Universal is trying to set up their Dark Universe series. And this movie is part of that. Now here's the thing. What they mean by their Universal's Dark Universe movie line is Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, Mummy, probably Creature from the Black Lagoon, just a classic monster set. And I think they put out recently, in the past, a werewolf movie and Dracula. So, and now this. But the thing is, Warner Brothers, because they own DC, or I should say DC Comics, they're trying to put a stop to Universal Studios owning the Dark Universe title, because Warner Brothers and DC Comics has a Dark Universe event coming up, or at least starting now as of this recording, for their comic book line, and they don't want any confusion, so we'll see what happens to that. Hopefully I'll hear more news in reference to what's going on in that. But also with The Mummy, there were nods to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, vampires, let's see, I don't know about any werewolves, I might have missed that, so there was some nods to at least, I think I seen a jar that might have hinted at a creature from the Black Lagoon, or at least something similar to that, so we'll figure that out shortly. And let's see, what else did we see in theaters? Well, how about this? Let me review, kind of, because I forgot, and I'll include it here, because I might have done it in one of our YouTube videos. That is Pirates of the Caribbean, current movie that came out. That, too, is a summer popcorn flick. No, I covered that in our hostful, because I mentioned it because it was a Memorial Day release, and we kind of talked about that. It was still a decent movie. I don't think it's going to be another sequel. We'll be surprised later on. Let's see. Oh, yes. Let's do a little bit of downers. We had 2 passings this past week, one of which was Adam West. He, for those who are not familiar with Adam West, he voices the Mayor Adam West in the Fox show Family Guy, the animated Fox show. Whether you like it or hate the show, there are a lot of people that hate Family Guy, and there are a lot of people that like Family Guy. But he played the mayor, in essence himself a little bit. Plus, he was I wouldn't say the first, he was maybe the second person to don the Batman uniform on at least overall. Even though the show was very campy, very 1960s, if not very early 70s, he was still, a lot of us from my generation grew up seeing that Batman prior to Keaton doing his rendition in the mid to late 80s, because there was reruns. So it was very sad to see him go. Many people have seen him in the convention circuit. There was various reports of him being a very nice guy and very, a lot of celebrities get that. There are instances where celebrities come off as being very nice and very fun to be with and so forth and so on. There's reports always come out that, some celebrities are real jerks or what have you. But a lot of people were sharing very positive stories from seeing him, and like one person on Facebook went to a convention where he was at, dressed up as the Penguin, and Adam West and I think Burt Ward was there as well, and Adam said, check this guy out, and him and Adam West, Burt Ward, and the person that was dressed up as the Penguin chit-chatted a little while they were both signing autographs, which is a fun story to hear. Not to mention recently, L.A., Los Angeles, displayed the bat signal as of a type of respect for him for a little while. Not to mention, I want to get his name. We also had another passing this past few days ago. I think his name was Stephen First. I just want to bring it up so I get his name correctly. Let's go down because we shared it, or I should say the show shared it on its Facebook page, and which takes a while to load. Yes, it was Stephen First. I guess it's pronounced first, like this person came in first, but it's spelled F-U-R-S-T. A lot of people would know Stephen from the movie Animal House. Some people might know him still from the TV show St. Elsewhere. Yet a lot of people in the sci-fi community would remember him as Veer from the television show Babylon 5. He always kind of played these characters that were kind of meek. I don't mean that in a bad way, but were somehow meek, but came out as strong as well. So, condolences to his family and friends in their time of loss. As per Adam West, same goes with him. For those who are out there that missed him in some way, shape, or form, either per actor, just remember for all their great roles that they have provided to the community at large. So there's that. Yes, I'll be posting the video about it on YouTube shortly, if not tonight, tomorrow sometime, and that is me trying Zima, which was just re-released by, I think Coors is the one that puts it out, and I didn't like it at all. Literally, it's as I said in the video, I like Shock Top, which is a citrusy type of beer, and I've had hard ciders and I've had hard sodas, which don't taste that bad. I think I had Red Apple Ale, which is I'm not crazy about it, but it's very good. And I've had a hard, I think the same company that puts out Red Apple Ale puts out a hard root beer, and that was pretty dang good. And I enjoyed both, and I'll probably have both again at some point. But Zima, it does not taste at all. I think it's more so a malt beer, and I'm not a fan of malt products like that. I think a few years ago I had the quote-unquote, they say we're real moonshine, but it's sold in Walmart, but it's not real moonshine. It's a malt product, and it's a malt facsimile of moonshine. No, it's not that. No, it didn't taste right. It didn't taste good. Thankful if I was only able to buy one bottle, I would have bought just one bottle, but I had to buy a 6-pack. I have 4 more to go through right now, and I'll probably be picking at it over the next couple of weeks. So I don't recommend picking up Zima unless you liked it and was able to get it back when it was initially released about 20 years ago. The reason why I'm saying that is because it initially came out in roughly 93, 94, and I don't remember seeing it past 97 in some locations, even though, according to, as I said in the video, Wikipedia says it was discontinued in 2008. I don't remember seeing it that late in stores, so it might have been in places like LA and New York City, or just the major cities, just not in places that are smaller, like in Florida, like Ocala, Florida, or Winchester, Virginia, or Hagerstown, Maryland. So that's that. See, what else do I have to cover for you guys today? As per trying to get your thoughts on a few, you the listeners' thoughts on a few things. In regards to the Wonder Woman versus Thor, what are your thoughts on that? I want to hear what you guys think. Who would win in a fight, Wonder Woman or Thor? Please do not get into a whole misogyny type of argument over it. We're just talking a one-on-one exhibition type of battle. If they don't win, it's to better themselves type of ordeal. It's not to the death or, let's say, to a KO, to whatever. It's just maybe a training thing that they have to go at. Who would win overall? Would they tie? Let me know by emailing the show at longcoatmafia@gmail.com or message us on Facebook, on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Lone Coat Mafia Podcast, or let us know on Twitter by DMing us on Twitter, and our Twitter handle is Lone Coat Mafia. Our Instagram handle is also Lone Coat Mafia, for you guys who are wondering about that. So let us know who would win, and please specify whether it's the movie versions or the comic versions, because there might be some discrepancies in reference to power sets. So please let me know, or tell me, or tell the show who would win in movie versions and who would win in comic versions. So please let us know. I want to hear us. We will read your email on air. So next time I do a solo show, I'll either read it then, or when we do our hostful, we'll read it then. So please let us know about that. See, what else? Hopefully upcoming, we'll have a few people on our show. Loads of people I've been talking to in reference to getting on and speaking with. Hopefully I'll get Skype working right. And that seems to be about it, folks. There's nothing more to say. If there is anything else to cover or any updates, I'll include them in next week's episode, whatever that might be. So, we'll see you again. Or should I say, I'll be speaking to you guys and gals again soon, and probably next week. Again, our email is, as always, if you want to comment to us about anything I said in this episode or previous episodes, please feel free to do so by emailing us at longcoatmafia@gmail.com. Please like our Facebook page and follow us there, which is facebook.com/The Lone Coat Mafia Podcast. As always, you can subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcast, depending if you are listening to us on an Apple mobile device, or Google Play Music, or if you stream us, Stitcher Radio. But you can hear all our episodes going back to our very first beta episode 2 years ago, just by going to our main site, which is thelonecoatmafia.podbean.com. That's right. Go back, listen to us from the beginning, hear how bad our audio was back then, and how much we improved over the past 2 years. So, I'm out. Take care, folks, and we hope you at the show had a wonderful Father's Day this past weekend, and wonderful and cool days ahead.
See you next time on the Lone Coat Mafia.